how's everybody doing? I just got off of a live stream on Veckel's channel. Was having a discussion with G-Man, Veckel, Aldelmo, and this other guy. Um, I don't remember, but we were talking about Calvinism and stuff. It was pretty good and pretty animated, as we would say in Portuguese. One of the guys was from Brazil, Adelmo. It was pretty interesting. But yeah, we were talking about, whether or not it's God who brings us to God or we bring ourselves to God, which doesn't make sense because all glory has to come from God, but He does give us a free will. He does give us the ability to choose, and He can convince us to choose to do what's right. But that's basically what it is in a, short version. But this this live stream here, I would like to discuss possibly the skeptics. What am I doing here? I got to invite people in case they come in. Okay. So, yeah, it's pointless to be just attacking somebody like these skeptics are skeptical of God. Atheism doesn't have anything to say of its own. Protestantism doesn't like the Catholic Church. You have to have a positive position. You can't just say you're against something. I'm protesting something or I'm skeptical of something. You have to say what is. You have to have a positive position. And of course, atheism does not have a positive position, and skepticism is just being skeptical of our positive position. Of course, it doesn't mean saying you're a skeptic doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell anyone anything. It's, and then to top it off, they would turn around and say, "Well, I believe in naturalism." Okay, so you're skeptical, but you believe in naturalism. Naturalism is a religion, basically. It's a belief in the magical powers of objects. The magical properties that objects give themselves, apparently, to make your mom and dad. So that's just not making very much sense. And so I would like to put out a challenge. I think I have this in the description, where I'm challenging the atheists to back up what they believe. We're out here putting our necks out, saying what is true, and that there is a God, a creator, a maker of everything, a source of everything. And skeptics aren't able to do that. The atheists aren't able to do that. They have no actual position of an atheist position or a skeptical position of saying what is. And then they turn around and claim paganism or naturalism, which is the same thing. And then they try to say that we're not scientific. You're the one believing in paganism, naturalism, giving the glory to matter, mindless matter. So this is the challenge, prove it. Prove your belief that objects have magical capabilities. or that the properties of matter are able to do magical things or wonderful things. Hello, Honesty Angel. Thanks for your support. As you know, I'm trying to get something going here every now and then, and but the skeptics aren't cooperating very much, and they just need to prove their belief because they do have a belief. They say they're atheists, they say they're skeptical, but then they also have a belief. So they would need to prove that to me. Otherwise, you can't say that you're scientific or that they're scientific or that I am wrong about what I observe. Because I observe that a lot of things, I don't want to bore people, but, I observe that energy can't make itself, can't order itself. DNA can't make itself or order itself. So living organisms can't make themselves or order themselves. It's, logical, rational, reasonable, and we're being attacked for saying what's observed. Let me see. Jesus didn't say follow Christians, he said follow me. That's true. And as Christians, we're trying to do that too. And the Spirit of God convinces us to do just that, to follow Him. Persuades us and convinces us without cheating, because the atheists are right that God could come to them, appear to them, and say, "Here I am, believe in me," and they would believe in Him. But what good is that? It's not proving what's in their heart. It's not showing what's in their heart. But God proves what's in our heart. So I was going to let me share screen. I was going to possibly talk about different things as long as the skeptics, are avoiding any kind of discussion whatsoever with anyone. Because there's so much stuff that we could talk about. We could talk about slavery, how people are enslaved today, working for other people, which is, in a sense, we're supposed to be slaves to each other anyway, but we're also supposed to be free from slavery or bondage to sin anyway. So there's different ways you can look at that. And I just did a video that says that in Israel, a slave could leave and go somewhere else, and wherever he went, they were obligated to accept him. So that kind of debunks slavery as we understand slavery. It's more like employment, basically. And we could talk about that. Or we could talk about someone's personality type. Apparently, there's 16 distinguishable personality types. I found out not too long ago that I'm an INFJ/T or dash T. I'm a thinking introvert that externally observes everything. And I haven't studied it too much what other people are. Of course, other people are more outgoing and stuff. So yeah, we're the ones with the science. We have the science to, you know, believing in naturalism isn't science because, hey, Matt Bond, how you doing, Matt Bond? Um, uh, would you like to have a discussion, Matt Bond? Because it's, I'm kind of bored here, and I would like to have a discussion, and a lot of people will jump on the attack to, jump on the attack, jump on chance to, challenge me in a discussion, a chat. But then when I ask them to do a live stream, everybody backs out, backs down, makes all kinds of excuses. So you are welcome, Matt Bond, if you wanted to join, if you would like to join. Because we can discuss anything you would like, and I will let you speak if you would like, as long as you don't, intentionally use foul language and all kind of crazy stuff. So, yeah, the skeptics, for some reason, they're afraid to talk. And we have proof of God because we observe everything He's done, and which can't be attributed to the physical world. The physical world can't account for itself. It's logical. There's no such thing as energy making itself or coming from nothing. And evolution needs to be removed from the curriculum in the schools because it's just senseless. And it would be nice if people would identify themselves who talk to me in the chat because most of the time, or a lot of the time, they are afraid to identify themselves as to who they are. They could be anybody. They could be some scientists that we all know, and we wouldn't even know. But or they could, they might not want to jeopardize their position or their job or anything because if they did have a discussion with me, it might make them look bad, and then people might say that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how to handle these creationists and stuff like that. We have a thing called consciousness, which I haven't spoken too much on. Consciousness, because it's hard to put your finger on what consciousness is, and conscience is another thing. Conscience would probably be, arguably could be the Holy Spirit talking to you. That's what conscience is. And it comes from the word science, conscience, with science, with knowing. And so that we're all without excuse. So, yeah, we could talk about physics. There's a whole bunch of things we could talk about. There you go. Join the conversation. I'm not sure if Matt Bond participates in discussions, um, but he's free to join here if he would like. Uh, should be able to see the link anyway, but yeah, we could talk about the no true Scotsman fallacy or the no real good teaching fallacy or whatever. Because we're discussing who's a Christian in the other live stream, and my definition of a Christian would be one who endures to the end. And if that's the definition of the Christian, then you can't lose your salvation because you're going to endure to the end, and no one can take you out of God's hand. He who began a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ, the day of the coming of the Lord. So I think it's pretty neat how Raw Matt and Standing for Truth are really on top of the latest information on the creation evolution debate and or slash atheism. And Steve McRae wasn't very impressed. Steve McRae dissed everything that they say, but you know I'm pretty impressed with it. And if Steve McRae disagrees with what they say, well, you'd have to give some specific examples because just dissing him on everything just isn't logical. It doesn't stand. So I would like to see Steve McRae, point out a specific, one specific thing at a time, that either Raw Matt said or that Standing for Truth said that doesn't line up, and we can discuss it. We can talk about it. But to diss everything he says, to put off everything he says like that, that's not very bright, Steve. I'm sorry. You know, I like I like Steve McRae. He could be a relative of mine. I do have McRae's in my genealogy, but and he's supposed to be Jewish too, I think. But I don't know how that works. But apparently, I am Jewish too because I have a Jewish great great grandfather, and because I have the IY chromosome, which is closely related to the JY chromosome, which is apparently of Judah. Apparently the I is Israel and the J is Judah. I don't know how that worked out, but this seems to be the case. And of course, the I was scattered through Europe. They're the lost tribes of Israel. And as we were discussing in the previous discussion, it'd be kind of hard still to identify the 12 tribes of Israel, but theoretically, it's might be possible to identify who the 12 tribes of Israel are, the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, might actually be scientifically possible because we do have the Y chromosome. And we know we could check out the genealogies and look back at the genealogies, but God knows anyways, of course, we always knew that, who the 12 tribes are, and God knows what he's doing. And even if we don't know or don't understand what's going on. But yeah, I'll just double check here. There's no Matt Bond here in this live stream, so I guess he's not too animated or excited about joining. Yes, Steve McRae just said, "Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just all wrong." You can't do that. That's not scientific, logical, rational, reasonable. You have to give a specific example, and then let see if what you're saying stands or falls, right? But it seems to be when you're afraid of whether or not you can defend your position, you just say, "Oh, it's all wrong," and then you're not specific about one specific thing. So what are you going to say if they're all wrong? What are you going to argue against? There's not much you can. How can you argue against that? It's not even a position, actually. So, which is seems to be a reoccurring problem that atheism and skepticism has no position of its own other than idolatry, and which is not scientific. So yeah, the Y chromosome study is very interesting. The mtDNA study is very interesting as well, and it appears that the descendants of Ham, the female mtDNA descendants of Ham, apparently all went to Africa. But not that's not the case with the Y chromosome, of course, of Ham. But apparently the L's are all in Africa and nowhere else. If we're being told the truth as far as what the testing goes, which seems could be reasonable, could be the case. And then, of course, if you listen to Ramat and them, is the L is of Ham, the wife of Ham, and the M and N are of Shem and Japheth, the wife of Shem and Japheth. And you can follow that. And apparently, I think I have to look at it again, but I might be Semitic on both parts, both the mtDNA, because I'm an M. I'm an M in the mtDNA, at least my cousins are. And they have we have the same grandmother. so, so I'm guessing that I'm an M. And and I'm the IY chromosome, which is Semitic. They're both Semitic, I guess, unless I mixed up the M and the N. There's an interesting song here that I like. It's one of the first songs that I heard when I came back to this country, to the United States. It's a version of Jesus Savior Pilot Me, which is pretty nice. The interesting thing here, this is a oh this is showing the okay, maybe you might not be able to see it, but I can see the difference between a honey badger and a greater grison, which they both have identical nature. They're identical in nature. They're just a little bit different in the color pattern. The same as the jaguar and the leopard, because they got separated when North or South America separated from Africa. We could talk about that. We could talk about fossils in Orlando Airport all over the place. And I have my own fossils. I found a shell fossil, closed shell fossil. Apparently, I have to clean it up a little bit more. I also found an ammonite fossil of my own. So that's interesting discussion. I called up the Truth Wanted, which is Matt Dillahunty's offshoot of atheism or whatever, of Austin, Texas, or wherever. And I thought it's pretty good. I don't like to call in the shows much because they just abuse and take advantage of you, but I was fairly pleased with the way I was treated on the Truth Wanted show, and we could talk about that because I tried to talk about things that they don't normally hear from creationists. So it's not the same old thing, talking about the same old thing all the time, which is what I try to do most of the time, regardless. And what do we got? We got nobody inside. Of course, I'm not expecting anybody to show up, but I'm leaving the invitation open if anybody would like to have a discussion, and the atheists would like to have a discussion. And if you're a Christian who would like to join, that's fine. That's no problem either. I mean, that's okay. And in case nobody knows, I am from the Amazon. I went there when I was 3 years old. My first memory was being bitten by my pet dog who went off and had rabies and came back like a couple of weeks later or more than a week later. And I remember everything that happened when I was 3 years old. I remember mm, the dog coming through the gate. I reached down to pet my dog at 3 years old, and it jumped up and bit me on my eye, and I had to get shots, 50 rabies shots. And they later dug up the head after they had buried it, and they confirmed that it did have rabies. So I am here as a result of the rabies shots that I took, which was the beginning of my life, I guess. But it didn't traumatize me with dogs. I happen to like dogs a lot. They like me. And there was another occasion where I was petting the dog, and the dog saved me from another dog that had rabies that was coming straight at me. So, and, you know, I get along very well with dogs. I understand dogs a lot, and they seem to understand me or like me usually. So I was raised in the Amazon. Was there at 3 years old, as I was said. Went to school there. I went to a private school, a private American school where I learned how to speak English. Well, actually, I was speaking English. English is my first language, anyways. And our school was a private American school that we spoke English, and we didn't speak very much Portuguese, but we did have Portuguese classes. So I was able to salvage what I had learned growing up in the Amazon and a little bit of Portuguese that I knew. I could speak it without an American accent so that today I can speak fluently because I have further developed my ability to speak Portuguese since then, since I came back when I was 17. I came back to the United States when I was 17. A lot of stuff was going on back then. It was 1975. And then I finished my high school education in a public school. I started out in a Christian school and finished off in a public school. So then, and every once in a while, I go back to the Amazon, go camping there, whatever, go fishing, boating, whatever I want to do at the time. So I really like the Amazon quite a bit, even though it's very, very hot and humid and it has mosquitoes and all kind of stuff like that. Well, that's about it, I guess. Oh, Honesty Angel says the your first memory is from 3 years old too. Yep. So yeah, not too many people. Some people say like they can remember back to 4 years old and things like that, or 5 years old. And it's not too common, I don't think, to remember back to 3 years old. So yeah, you know, I am a. I like to consider myself a, I don't know, theologian or something. I basically believe in God, and as such, I need to basically know something about everything, if possible, so that I can, you know, be able to show to people that what we believe is the truth. So, and my my interest or my what I like most is in the in school is science. See, so apart from the Bible, which I like the Bible class, Bible teaching. Besides that, I like science. Apart from Bible, science is my favorite class. Always was. So I do understand some things about science, and enough to where I enjoy talking about it, or discussing about it, and I would be I would like to discuss that with an atheist too, if they wanted to. You know, it doesn't matter what science it is. I'd be willing to talk about it. Maybe I can learn something. Maybe you can learn something. But well, it looks like everybody is well. Not everybody knows about this live stream, of course, but just putting out the invitation, shall we say, to all skeptics and atheists out there who would like to have a discussion. It doesn't have to be right at this minute. We can arrange the time and when to do it, and the topic. We can agree on a topic or agree to talk about anything. But we're the ones with a position, and the skeptics and atheists don't seem to have a position other than idolatry, or they're giving the credit to the physical world instead of the maker of the physical world. So that's not a very good thing, because that's not science. Giving credit to physical things for the existence of physical things is not science. And that's your position that you don't like to admit. It's the only other position that there is besides God, of course. Either you give the credit to the physical world, or you understand that the physical world has a creator, has a maker. And if you do give the credit to the physical world, that is idolatry. Then basically you're giving all the credit to matter for itself and everything that exists, which includes every living organism, every different living organism that has different written instructions that are copied. And of course, you can't copy instructions that aren't there. You are either one kind of animal, or you're another kind of animal, or you are a humankind. And the humankind is what remains after the global flood. Because apparently the Neanderthals did not make it through the global flood because their Y chromosome is extinct and apparently it's significantly different from ours. I'm not sure exactly, but I would like to see the Y chromosome so I could compare it to our Y chromosome. But I'm not sure where I can find that because I looked for it and I don't think it's readily accessible on Google. Just like a lot of things aren't readily accessible on Google or search engines. But anyway, I guess that's about it. Yeah, so believing in idolatry is not scientific. And skeptics and atheists are trying to say that we're not scientific. No, I think you're just either brainwashed or deluded, or you've been misinformed, or all of the above, and you have it all wrong.